Cutters, Degrassi, Unpopular Opinions. Hey there, Heather, ho there. It's Jeff Cutter Diamond. Welcome you to another Cutter Degrassi Unpopular Opinion. And this is This is one to do with a post I made a couple of weeks ago, and this is actually being recorded on February 21st, 2022 for context. So anyway, I put a post saying unpopular opinion. We deserved more mention about Rick's parents post-shooting season 4. And I wrote this. The only flag we as fans got for the Murrays after Rick's death was that the mom was blissfully ignorant of what her son did and practically wanted to talk to Toby about things in Back in Black. I feel like someone should have mentioned the aftermath of how Rick's parents had to deal with their son being a school shooter, their possible trouble with a firearm, being in easy contact with a minor, and if they got a settlement from the police or school board, and if that settlement led to repercussions at Degrassi or for the school board. To quote Nana Vampire, one of my muses, they said the show was about the kids. I agree, but I feel like there should be a scene/dialogue about how the parents of school shooters deal with the stigma and try to navigate things. All we get with the adults about dealing with the Rick Murray aftermath was Simpson taking accountability because he said that they didn't handle Rick's bullying better enough. Jamie's parents dealing with his being in a wheelchair. Spike and Snake trying to handle Emma's PTSD and post-shooting mentality. And of course, Rash being turfed. And I said, I feel like the Murrays had some input into the situation, but it wasn't last drop. We can only assume that somehow the Murrays escaped a charge with firearms, got a settlement, and left Toronto. I don't know. I don't know what happened. Okay, so we need some context in this. So everyone knows about the Rick Murray situation. I'm not going to repeat myself or everything because it takes too much time. But the fact of the matter, guys, is that with Rick's parents, it seemed like his mother was the glue that held the family together. His father was a traveling salesman and always left. And we didn't know much about Rick's father and all that, except for the fact that Rick is upset that his dad won't be coming to the TV taping and all that of Wacky Rain. And all of a sudden, you know, Rick's mom said that she did try to get Rick to leave for another school, but Rick said, you worry too much and we'll be fine. I'll be fine. And it's like she didn't know about Rick's problems. Obviously, because Rick didn't tell her these things, because Rick thought that if he told, A, he would get the snitches get stitches philosophy, and B, is that, he figured that they'll run out of steam. Wrong move, Rick. I'm sorry, but that's a false statement. Anywho, so in Back in Black, the subplot was Toby having to deal with being harassed by JT and Danny, I mean Liberty's brother, about him being Rick's only true friend. The other friends were just not really true friends. Fair weather friends, more like. And Toby didn't want to go to the funeral. Well, I think it was more of a visitation because there wasn't really anyone. There were people wearing black and all that, but they weren't like in funeral clothes. So yeah, it was a visitation and all that. And Mrs. Murray wanted to talk to Toby because Toby was Rick's only friend. But Toby struggles with the fact that what do I do about Rick? Is he a good guy or is he a bad guy? Like, I understand about Toby and all that, like the problems he had. Like, he was wrestling in his mind about what to do about this whole situation. I'm going to be talked to as Rick's friend. So, yeah. And, after that, we had no mention about Rick's parents. We had mentions of Rick, but not in his parents. And we didn't find out anything about Rick's parents, like, post-shooting. Like, did they get in trouble with the fact that their son was a school shooter and that there was a gun easily accessible to a minor? I bet you Rick's dad got in trouble for that. Rick's mom may have got in trouble for that. They may have gotten some money and actually left Toronto. Because that's what Not a Vampire actually said in one of their videos about the fact that, they may have had to leave Toronto because of the shame. Anyway, I got a lot of comments. And one of my contributors, Rachel Violetta, said this. I doubt they tried for or got any settlement. If legal precedent matters, it seems unlikely that a school shooter's parents would be ballsy enough to try to get money from the school for damages and costs incurred because their son got into the school. It shouldn't. I don't think it would have happened. That's basically what I've been preaching from the start. Is that you know maybe the parents got something. That's what I thought because how laissez faire things were in 2004 compared to 2022. But I guess in 2004, the precedent was that your son's a school shooter, you don't get any settlement, you don't get anything. Your son's a school shooter, you will be penalized for it. I think that's what Rachel is setting up. And maybe she saw some of my stuff. Who knows? But the fact of the matter is that I agree. But it's like you can't like say for sure that they didn't get settlement. Maybe they did get a settlement. Anyway, tantalizing said language said, I agree completely, especially because Rick showing agree with the we deserve more mention of Rick's parents. I agree completely, especially because Rick showing abusive behavior that young indicates he likely was or is abused at home, and if not, clearly had issues he needed treatment for. Anytime a child snaps like this, I have to blame the parents as well. Your son put another child in the hospital and you leave a gun accessible to him? Exactly. It's like, it's puzzling. It's like, why would Rick's dad? I know that Rick's dad put it in a cabinet and put it in a briefcase. Maybe as a precaution that, he had a gun and Rick should not have access to it. But Rick knew about it and knew the combination. How did Rick? You have to find out about Rick. His dad. Like, Rick's dad should have changed the combination if he knew Rick had it, but Rick obviously didn't do it. And the parents didn't know that Rick was going to bring the gun to school and to shoot somebody. Okay, so let's see. And what's not clicking said, why would anyone give a settlement to his family? Not saying the principal couldn't have dealt with the bullying in a more direct way, but Rick's family left their firearm accessible that he used to paralyze another student and traumatize others. If anything, wouldn't Rick's family be potentially liable if Jimmy or his other victims filed a civil suit? I feel like there's precedent missing. And I said, I think you got it covered. But this was 2004 and things are different now. I would say that, but you got to cover your bases, as I say. I'm not saying they got a settlement. I'm just saying, what if they got a settlement and all that? But the main thing was that I'm trying to say that Rick's parents deserve more mention, even though it is very unpopular. Let's see. Internal drummer said, I feel for Rick. It just doesn't want plausible for them to dive into the parents. But I think that perspective would have been great if they did a school shooting again. Anyway, Princess Tourmaline said, I think this is valid. Also, could have ventured into more discussion about bullying and how it's handled in schools. Don't get me wrong, Rick deserves so much of what he got. But part of the responsibility of the school is to prevent bullying so that things don't escalate to the point they did with Rick. A blind eye was turned and all that. And someone said, well, Degrassi had a zero tolerance policy on bullying. And I said, well, that got pushed inside season 5 because if the zero tolerance still existed, Peter would have been canned for what he did to Manny. So that's the thing, though, because, the zero tolerance policy, it was never mentioned on Degrassi and all that. And I think that the school board put the zero tolerance policy automatically on Degrassi because they mishandled the situation. And Hatzackles mentions it. I mean, the fact of the matter is, Rick's parents, I would have loved to see someone in passing mention say, what happened to Rick's parents? And they said, oh, Paige would have been like, oh, they're probably in jail for what they did about Rick. They are liable or something like that. To me, it's like, it would have been nice to see the aftermath for them. It would have been nice to see the aftermath for Raditch because, after he got turfed, what happened to him? In my head canon, when he got reassigned. I don't know if he got fired. He might have got reassigned because remember, this is 2004. I think they didn't want to really fire him from the school board, from the school position. So anyway, he wasn't happy with his reassignment and left for California to do Top Gun rebuild or something bullshit like that. It'll be like Ash knows cars. Anyway, yeah. So Rick's parents deserve more mention. Fight me on that. Anyway, thanks for